In the previous video about Cannock Chase, it was a brief overview of the terrifying things people have witnessed over the years, from UFOs to black-eyed children. In this video, we will go a little deeper and delve into the mysterious encounters some people have had in Cannock Chase, getting a better understanding of what might be lurking in the shadows of this beautiful national park in England. There is one man who has spent a lot of his life documenting what people have seen in Cannock Chase. Lee Brickley is an investigator and author with more than 24 titles currently in publication, covering a broad range of subjects including true crime, ancient history, the paranormal, and more. In this video, we will look at some of the encounters from people in the area Lee has gathered over the years. The Pig Man, the Black-Eyed Child, and the Smiling Man. We will try and unravel the mystery of Cannock Chase. Nestled in the heart of Staffordshire, England, Cannock Chase is a scenic area of natural beauty with a rich and varied history. Covering approximately 26 square miles, this forested landscape has been shaped by human activity and natural forces over centuries, creating a unique tapestry of historical significance and environmental wonder. The history of Cannock Chase is rich and varied, contributing to its haunted reputation. From its days as a royal hunting ground to its industrial past, the area's dark and often tragic history provides a backdrop for many of its ghost stories. The Chase's dense forests and isolated paths have long been associated with mysterious happenings. Many different types of paranormal phenomena have been cited there, including cryptids, ghosts, UFOs, and black-eyed children, to name just a few. Cannock Chase's allure extends beyond its scenic landscapes to its enigmatic paranormal reputation. The combination of its dark history, mysterious legends, and modern-day ghost stories contributes to its status as one of England's most intriguing haunted locations. For those intrigued by the supernatural, Cannock Chase offers a fascinating glimpse into the unknown, where history and mystery intertwine. The Pig Man of Cannock Chase is one of the area's most unsettling and enigmatic legends. The story, which has circulated since the mid-20th century, revolves around a mysterious figure said to haunt the forested region of Cannock Chase. According to local folklore, the Pig Man is a grotesque, half-human, half-pig creature. Descriptions vary, but common elements include a humanoid figure with the head of a pig or a man with pig-like features. The Pig Man is often depicted as a menacing and malevolent being, adding to the eerie atmosphere surrounding the legend. The origins of the Pig Man legend are somewhat murky. Some sources suggest it might be a modern creation, influenced by local fears and the area's dark history. Others believe it could be rooted in older, more obscure folklore, possibly related to tales of witchcraft or local superstitions. Others believe that the Pig Man was a horrible experiment created by the government or military during World War II. Whatever the truth, there has been many sightings over the years of the Pig Man in Cannock Chase. And in this part of the video, we will talk about one of these terrifying encounters with this terrifying creature. In the summer of 2017, Linda Mucklow and her partner Derek were in Cannock Chase walking their two dogs Barney and Fred through the woods. The evening was still quite bright and the sun was still shining. And as usual, everything seemed normal in Cannock Chase, and the dogs were running around the forest having fun. They had been there for about an hour, and it was now around 8 in the evening. The sun was setting, so the sky had turned into a beautiful red color, so the couple decided to head back to their car. It was at this point Barney and Fred started to act very strange. They went from being excited, running around the forest, to acting scared and uncomfortable. Suddenly, they all heard a noise. It was a distinct noise that sounded like a pig grunting. They stopped walking and both stood silent, trying to find out where this noise was coming from. The dogs were barking and looking towards a certain part of the forest, so the couple concluded that whatever was making these noises was coming from that direction. They started to walk in the direction the noise was coming from, and as they got closer, the noise suddenly stopped. They stood in silence for a moment, hoping to hear the noise again, but heard nothing. Suddenly, something caught Derek's eye, about 50 meters from where they were standing. At first, he thought it was a man wearing some kind of mask because there was something not right about the head and face. Linda called out to the figure, and the figure started to move towards them. As the figure was getting closer, the head started to resemble a pig, so they assumed it was someone wearing a pig's mask, which is strange enough, but as the figure got even closer, that is when they realized it was not a mask. The dogs were going crazy at this point, barking and obviously scared. This figure was getting closer and closer, and the grunting noises started to get louder, as if the creature was getting ready to attack them. That is when Linda and Derek started to run in the opposite direction. As they ran for their lives, they would turn around to see the creature still behind them, gaining ground on them. Suddenly, they could see their car not far in the distance. They turned around to see where the creature was, and this time they could not see it. Out of breath, they slowed down their pace, as they could see their car in the distance, and would be there in a minute or so. Suddenly, in front of them, the figure stepped out from behind a tree, blocking their path to their car. It was only about 10 meters in front of them, so this time they got a good look at the figure. They now knew 100% that this was not a person in a mask, and was in fact a humanoid figure with a pig's head. At this point, the dogs were going crazy, and Barney was pulling so hard on the lead that Derek could not hold the lead any longer. So he let go, and Barney ran straight for the creature. He jumped up at the creature, but instead of making contact, Barney went straight through the creature, as if the creature was a ghost. That is when Linda and Derek realized that whatever this creature was, it was not flesh and blood and was in fact some sort of apparition or phantom. At that moment, the figure let out a grunt and then disappeared back behind the tree. When Derek went to check on Barney to see if he was okay and to see where the figure went, he discovered that the creature had simply vanished without a trace. The couple, without hesitation, grabbed the dogs and ran back to the car. Once in the car, they drove away as quickly as they could, not once looking back to see if the creature was there. This sighting raises a lot of questions about the pigman and what the creature actually is. In this sighting, the creature was more of an apparition than flesh and blood, so what could that mean? Is it some form of interdimensional being that cannot take solid form in this reality? Or does it have the ability to choose when it wants to take solid form? Maybe the creature, or whatever it is responsible for all the other strange sightings in the area. Maybe they're all the same thing, the same force manifesting in different forms. One thing is for sure, whoever has come across the pigman or any other strange sighting in Cannock Chase, nobody has been brave enough to hang around to find out. The black-eyed child of Cannock Chase is probably the most well-publicized supernatural entity that people are known to encounter in Cannock Chase. Some believe she represents one of the tormented souls of one of the little girls murdered in the area during the 1960s. Some believe the black-eyed child is a demon or alien. She is often seen at Castle Ring, the Iron Age hill fort stationed at the highest point of Cannock Chase Woods. During the summer of 2021, a young couple decided to camp in the middle of the forest. It was a decision they would both soon regret. Kylie Drakeford and Ben Tilley were both 17 at the time of the incident. This was the height of the COVID pandemic, so they rarely spent time together because of the lockdown that was put in place across the UK. It was Ben who came up with the idea. Kylie also agreed that it was a great idea, so they started to plan the trip straight away. When they arrived at their destination, they put the tent up as quickly as they could because just a few hours before, it had rained quite heavy, and it looked like it could rain again soon, and they did not want to be wet before they got into the tent. The night was cold as they made themselves comfortable, but to them it was worth it because this was the first evening in a long time they had spent together. It was around midnight when they both heard something moving outside. Ben first thought it was a wild animal, like a deer, as there was plenty of deer in Cannock Chase. They stayed as quiet as possible, because they did not want to scare the animal that seemed to be stalking the outside of the tent. The more Ben listened to the movement outside, the more he was not so sure that it was a wild animal. The pacing of the movement made Ben think that it was something or someone moving on two legs and not four. The footsteps at this point seemed to be circling the tent. Kylie suggested they unzip the tent and take a look, and Ben agreed, though he had this strange feeling he could not shake and was actually terrified but did not want Kylie to know this. So he slowly unzipped the tent and poked his head outside. It was so dark he could not see anything, and that is when they both heard it, the unmistakable sound of a small child giggling. The terrified couple immediately turned on their torches and looked around the surrounding area. Many things were going through Ben's mind. Maybe it was a lost child in the woods, but he still could not shake off that strange feeling he had in the pit of his stomach. The giggling continued, and at this point, they were both using their torches, looking around frantically trying to find out where the sound was coming from. Then, Ben and Kylie noticed something move behind one of the trees in front of them. Whatever it was running from tree to tree, hiding itself behind the tree trunks and occasionally peering out towards the couple. The figure was so fast, they both found it hard to keep up with the figure as it moved from tree to tree. Then the figure stepped out from behind a tree and stood in the clearing in front of them. It was a child, but what terrified the both of them was the fact that the child had jet black eyes. Kylie stated later, "I was absolutely terrified. I'd read the stories in the news about the black-eyed child, but it wasn't until the thing stood right in front of me that I could quite believe them. I knew instantly that we were dealing with the real thing, because it moved in ways humans simply can't move. It was like it could teleport from one place to another when it was moving around and hiding behind the trees." Ben later added, "I was shining my torch right at her, and she just stood there staring at us with her head slightly dipped. That's when the giggling started to get louder and louder. It really sounded like it was coming from all around us, even though I could see she was right in front of us. It was really disorientating for a few seconds. Then she bent down for a moment as if adjusting her shoes, stood back up, and ran off down a nearby path through a dense section of trees." Many people believe that the black-eyed child will attempt to lead people away from the safety of a path to more isolated areas with the intention of getting them lost, or even causing them harm. Both Ben and Kylie had heard about this, so they had no intention of getting out of the tent to follow the child, or whatever it was. All they could do was wait in their tent until daybreak. After what they witnessed, they did not sleep a wink, and just laid there waiting for the first signs of morning. At around 7 a.m., Kylie and Ben climbed out of their tent for the first time since the previous evening's encounter. They were both shocked to discover unusual piles of stones evenly spaced around the entire perimeter of their tent. There were also lots of strange stick formations hanging from the trees that looked a little like dream catchers. The slightly shaken couple decided it was time to pack up and leave as soon as possible, and that's precisely what they did. The walk back to Ben's car would take around 15 minutes, and it was largely uneventful until he heard Kylie, who was only about 3 feet behind him, scream at the top of her lungs. Ben dropped everything and spun around just quickly enough to catch a glimpse of a small child with black eyes peering back at him from behind a tree. Ben shouted, "Leave us alone!" grabbed Kylie by the hand, and made the remaining short journey back to his car in double time. There has been other sightings of black-eyed children in Cannock Chase, and some people put it down to the 3 child murders that took place in the mid-1960s in the Cannock Chase area. The black-eyed children of Cannock Chase have become a modern legend that feeds into the region's rich paranormal history. Sightings typically occur in the dense, isolated areas of Cannock Chase, adding to the unsettling nature of these experiences. Whether these children are spirits, extraterrestrials, demons, or merely products of imagination and urban legend, they have captured the fascination of paranormal enthusiasts and continue to be a focal point for mysterious encounters in the area. The Smiling Man of Cannock Chase is a more recent and eerie addition to the area's long history of paranormal phenomena and urban legends. He is one of the more disturbing and mysterious figures reportedly seen in the area. He is typically described as a tall, gaunt figure with an unervingly wide, fixed grin. Prospect Village is a tiny community in Cannock Chase with only a few houses. The village is so isolated that it would take a while to walk to the nearest town or village. The roads around the village is where there have been sightings of the Smiling Man. In most of the accounts, people walking the road out of Prospect Village see the Smiling Man moving towards them from the opposite direction. It is said the Smiling Man moves quickly along the path, with some witnesses claiming that the Smiling Man is dancing towards them with a huge grin on his face. Once he passes, the person would turn around to get a second look only to see the Smiling Man turn his head 180 degrees, with his body still moving in the opposite direction. On the 7th of September, 2021, Gemma Pugh and her family moved to Prospect Village. None of them had visited the area before, so were unaware about the Smiling Man's reputation. Just 3 days after moving to the village, Gemma left her husband and children to walk to the village of Rawnsley to register with the GP. The battery on their car was flat, and as it was not raining, Gemma thought it would be nice to walk there instead. While walking along the road, Gemma noticed a man in the distance walking towards her. Gemma later recalled, "It was almost like he was dancing towards me, to be honest. He was kind of skipping and prancing around, and I instantly felt a little scared." As the man got closer, Gemma's heart began to race when she looked at the man's face. Gemma recalled, "You're going to think I'm mad, right?" But his face sort of looked similar to the big smiling clown you sometimes see on posters when the circus comes to town. He just had this really intense look in his eyes, as if he was about to explode. The man passed Gemma, and it was only when she turned around to look at the man, she saw something that terrified her. When Gemma turned around to look at the man, he was walking away from her, but his head had turned 180 degrees and was looking at Gemma with those intense eyes and that creepy smile. At this point, most people who have seen the Smiling Man say he just continues to walk away from them until out of sight, but this did not happen with Gemma, as she recalls. "It was not like he faded away or evaporated when I blinked or anything like that. He just stopped walking and some sort of black door appeared in front of him. He reached out, turned a handle, opened it and stepped inside. As the door shut, the whole thing vanished." After the sighting, Gemma decided not to walk to the GP and decided to go back home. Gemma told her husband about the experience, and neither of them could come up with a rational explanation for what happened. A few weeks later, Gemma was talking to a neighbor about the sighting, and that was when Gemma first heard about the Smiling Man. As Gemma heard more stories about the Smiling Man, it came as a bit of relief because she knew she was not the only one to have seen this terrifying figure. The Smiling Man of Cannock Chase is an unsettling figure whose fixed grin and strange behavior continue to perplex and frighten those who encounter him. While his appearances are less frequent than other paranormal entities tied to the area, his presence contributes to the dark and mysterious atmosphere that surrounds Cannock Chase. Whether the Smiling Man is a ghost, an urban legend, or a psychological creation, he remains a haunting and disturbing part of Cannock Chase's legacy of unexplained phenomena. Cannock Chase, with its long history of ghost stories and unexplained phenomena, remains an enigmatic and haunting place that continues to capture the imagination. Whether one believes in the Pigman, the Black-Eyed Children, or the Smiling Man, the power of these stories lies in their ability to tap into the deepest human fears: fear of the unknown, of isolation, and of the things that cannot be understood. The legends of Cannock Chase endure because they reflect the timeless tension between the seen and the unseen, the natural and the supernatural. The forest, with its quiet paths and hidden corners, offers an irresistible sense of mystery, one that promises to reveal something terrifying just out of sight. For as long as the woods stand, and as long as stories are told, Cannock Chase will remain a place where the boundaries between reality and nightmare are thin, and where the haunting never truly ends. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe.